welcome to, for you, the second showcase, talking a bit about industry and infrastructure at GF Piping Systems, highlighting a bit our position in two selected industrial segments, and then having a bit more of a deep dive also into the infrastructure business, also with a special reference how the combination of GF Piping Systems and Uponor can add more value to our customers and obviously also to our shareholders eventually. My name is Joost Geginat. For those of you who have not met me yet, joined GF in 2016, president of GF Piping Systems, started working for GF in my former profession already 20 years ago. So I know this company and its journey for quite a while, and it has been a very exciting journey so far. Thank God I'm not alone. It's not me who basically delivers the numbers of piping systems. It's this strong team behind me and the people that work for them. And what you see is it's a very international team. We have people, colleagues from the US, we have colleagues from Denmark, we have colleagues from Malaysia, everywhere. And what I also like about the team is that they are very experienced, but that we also have a very good balance between old hands who know GF now for a long period, and young blood, which in the last years we have added to the team, coming with new, wilder ideas. And next year we will take another step in further rejuvenating that team to prepare us for the future. I need to talk to my colleague, he's too loud. GF Piping Systems. If you hear the name GF Piping Systems, you very often think, okay, so they produce pipes. Logical. Pipes actually only stand for 20% of our business as it is today. 80% is other things, whether that is fittings, valves, but also things which maybe you don't expect. For instance, we have about 250 million of sales in process automation, which is the combination of our measurement and control, M&C, portfolio with actuated valves. Specialized
I thought
solutions.
that you were screaming about me evilly, that I was on the wrong side, so I came over.
Specialized solutions, so basically the customizing, the engineering, and also the prefabrication of products for our customers, serving their special needs, is now a business which is rather new for us, but which now stands for more than 100 million. My colleagues in the US always call that construction excellence. So we're really going upstream in the value chain and providing much more services to our customers. So we are anything but a pipe producer. We are more a solutions provider for leak-free flow solutions to our customers. And we do that with all these components of our portfolio that I've shown you before in a very high number of end markets. What you see here on the slide is the most important end markets that we're serving, but obviously it's a selection, so there are some more. And today I want to take you on a journey to a deep dive into 4 of these end markets, which is chemical processing, microelectronics, a bit on food and beverage, and then obviously also in water and gas utilities when we talk about the infrastructure part of our business. So without further ado, I would then start with the first showcase, and this is probably about one of the currently most discussed and most critical industries we have around the world, the semiconductors industries. And for the ME segment, I want to focus on 3 topics. I want to explain you why water is so important for chip fabrication, how we see the market going forward, and why we, and I personally also, believe that GF is uniquely positioned in the market to benefit from further growth. But let's start with water, because when you hear chips, you don't immediately think of water. If you look at this system here, this is a rinse reclaim system where you basically reuse the water that is needed to clean the wafer. The wafer, for those of you who don't know what a wafer is an extremely, you can see it here if you want to, is an extremely thin silicon chip, which is basically the basis for any chip which is produced. It's a silicon disk. On that silicon disk, you spray or layer several layers of different materials, which then basically build the chip. This is a process which is reiterated several hundred times. During each of these process steps, you need water to clean that model of the chip at that stage and basically wash away all the ingredients which are not needed. Now it gets critical. You cannot do that with any water. What you need to do this is ultra pure water. Ultra pure water is a water which basically includes no contaminants at all. If you would drink it, you would suffocate. So clean. So there are no minerals, no metals, nothing is included, because any mineral or metal in a water that would touch a chip would destroy the chip. So this is why this is so mission critical. Each single chip, the production of each single chip uses about 30 liters of water. When you look at such a wafer, you think about several thousands of chips which are on such a wafer. So that's the amount of water that we're talking about, and you see it here, an individual fab consumes tens of millions of gallons of water per day. If you look at the biggest chip producing country, mostly based in Asia and in the US, each one of them uses more than 100 billion liters of water every year for chip production. That is why water is so mission critical for the chip production. There's huge usage of water. And I think that's also important to understand, it's not only about the ultra pure water which is used to rinse the chip. It's also what happens afterwards, because you can imagine in such a water intensive industry, you want to keep the water, you want to reuse it. Yeah? So you find all kind of applications, whether it's ultra pure or at the other example, wastewater, whether it is filtration or whether it's cooling. All of these processes in the semiconductor, in an individual fab, need water. Now, add water scarcity, add the fact that some of these fabs are built in areas like in Arizona in the US, which are not notably known for an abundance of water. Managing the water intensity in these fabs is mission critical to run an effective and efficient process for all the big players. Now let me talk a moment about the market. The market is huge and it is growing. Just when you look at this slide, you see all the projects that are already publicly announced and known to us, and they add up already to an investment of 600 billion US dollar. Average growth rate every year, which is expected in that industry, is about 6 to 8% until the year 2030. So we talk about a big market and we talk about a growing market. Now, to understand also the relative importance of GF in that process, an average fab costs about 30 billion US dollar. Can be a bit less, can be a bit more. Let's say 20 to 40, depends a bit on the size. The business of GF in such a fab can take any form between 10 and 50 million for one single fab. But the process is ultra critical now for all the producers. because they have a specified system which they use for 30, 40 years. If anything goes wrong with that system, they have a big problem. So they would never change it. That's why, I mean, our solution in terms of the relatively money-wise value to the project is moderate. The criticality for the customer is extremely high. This is why they usually stick to their suppliers and stay with them over a long time. And this is, for instance, why we work with Intel now for more than 40 years. When you look at the projects going forward, you see that there is a very nice cluster and high activity in the United States. We just recently won a new project, Project Cardinal for Intel in Ohio, which is another big fab which is built there. You all heard about the new semicon cluster which is taking shape in what is called Silicon Saxony right now, where TSMC, Infineon, but also Intel are building. And also in Asia, which is where the music has clearly played in the last 3 or 4 years, there's still a lot of activity going on, thanks to chip sovereignty, but also thanks to digitalization, automation, and also our personal consumer preferences and Netflix. One more important point to that is to understand where are we in that process. And I think it's a common misconception which basically thinks, okay, GF is only in very early in that process and no longer later. I think we usually start with advanced engineering services, discussing with the Intels, the TSMCs, or also the contractors in between, well before that project is actually starting any shape. But then we are also present during the construction execution. We do installation trainings. We do off-site manufacturing. More and more, our clients are extremely thankful that we are able basically to take away some clean room manufacturing on our premises and take away the risk that they might have with a local installer. For instance, in one of our biggest projects in Malaysia, we built a clean room literally in Malaysia to serve Intel, and that basically made this project stick, and that's what they appreciate a lot. So there's a huge number of service activities also going on. Going forward, and then also going into the operation of any fab, we're also offering lifecycle support, where we are working together with the OEMs then, who provide services or maintenance works during that time. That is something where we see also huge potential for us going forward. So this is neither a one-trick pony, because this is a repeating business with lots of activities around the world. No, is this a single-shot occasion where you have just one chance very early in the beginning to make money. I think to summarize, I think GF is an extremely good position in this market because it has very high barriers to entry, because to basically produce a system that can convey ultra pure water, you need to produce it in a clean room, and there are only 2 companies in the world who are able to do that. Secondly, we have more than 50 people who basically wake up in the morning, think microelectronics, who understand the way a fab works inside out and are sought after experts by even the highest ranking engineers at Intel. They do nothing else. Thirdly, we work together with some of the biggest customers for almost my lifetime, so there's a lot of trust established there. And fourthly, what I mentioned before, the risk of changing the supplier in such a critical application is just too high that an Intel or TSMC would dare to do this. So to conclude this showcase, I think growing market, extremely strong position for GF, and I'm very, very bullish and optimistic for the future. That would bring me then to my second showcase. Now we're talking about process automation. Process automation, as we define it, is always the combination of our valves, the actuation of these valves, and our measurement and control portfolio. And as I mentioned earlier on in this presentation, this combination of products and the solutions we provide stand for about 250 million of business. That takes place in a market which is 6 to 7 billion US dollars of size. That is that part of the process automation market which is addressable with plastic components due to pressure ratings and other things. It's a growing market, 5 to 6% per year, and it grows nice in both components, whether you talk about actuated valves or the measurement and control systems. Both parts are equally growing, and it's also a very globally dispersed market, which makes it more resilient and also more attractive to a player like GF, who's present everywhere around the world. So it is a market that plays to our strengths. And now I want to give you two short case studies. The first one is in China. And here you see our partnership with a company which is called Tianjin OMZ. Tianjin OMZ is a leading supplier in the starch and sugar fermentation industry. And that industry is, unfortunately, one of the oldest industries in the world. I mean, changing sugarcane into something else has always been there. You can imagine this is not one of the most efficient industries. In comes OMZ. And with building up new fabrication facilities for these industries. And the way they did it was that basically operations costs in these industries have been reduced by 50%. And also wastewater discharge was reduced by 40%. So they made it more efficient and they made it more sustainable. They were only able to do that because they cooperated with us, they co-innovated with us to produce these systems which look a bit different, but in principle have the same elements as this one. And I like this picture actually when it's blown up, because then you basically see what you can think you see here, a wall consisting of GF products. Pipings, pipes, valves, actuation, and overall in this project more than 5,000 valves have been used. I like this example not only because it's 5,000 valves, obviously that I also like a lot, but I also like it because it also shows the impact. If you have the right process automation system, even in a very old industry, you can reduce operations costs significantly, 50%, and you can have a significant contribution to sustainability, 40% less wastewater discharge. Fish farming is my second example, and I think that's it's one I like a lot, because this industry is undergoing fundamental change. What happened to the old fisherman who was basically fishing the fish from the river or from the sea? Unfortunately, we are talking now, after population growth and increased income, that our seas globally are 35% overfished. Then what we're seeing, or what we have seen in the last 2 decades, I would say, more and more marine fish farms. I think those of you who have been to Thailand or Vietnam probably have seen some of these fish farms, which are a bit archaic and which are also very often subject that drugs, hormones and so on are basically thrown into the water to make the fish grow. We see obvious negative impact not only on the fish, but also on the sea and on the biodiversity on the sea. That is why over the last couple of years, we have seen an increasing trend to take fish farming on land. Why so? Because it's a controlled environment. It's much more efficient. You can also grow the fish better according to specification. That might sound awesome to some of us, but I think in overall it's probably a good thing. And it moves the fish farming much closer to the customers, taking out significant risks that you usually have here in a supply chain when you think about cooling the fish and so on. And what we're discussing here is not some small shack-like garage projects. We're talking big industry. This is an example from a fish farm in Norway. And you see this is a massive industry. Overall, we're talking about an expected 90 billion euro investment into on-land fish farming around the world. A lot of capex and a lot of need for water treatment. And I think here you see one nice example. This is Swiss Shrimps, a client of GF, where GF is already providing process automation and all other kinds of water treatment applications to make sure that the shrimps can grow as natural as possible. Now, and that's the part which excites me in the moment a lot, now come our new friends from Uponor, because what they also work on fish farms. And what they are delivering is intake and outfall pipeline systems. So basically, GF piping systems, as you knew it, is inside the building. Now comes GF Uponor, or GF infrastructure, and basically can connect this to the outside world. So here again, we can offer a much better comprehensive solution to our customers. If you then take into account that the contractors building these fish farms around the world are all Europeans, or almost all Europeans, and that 60 to 70% of those contractors are based in Norway, Sweden, or Finland, you understand why this is giving us a clear additional edge to capture this market much better. So those are two examples, and I could find many more, why process automation is a strongly growing business for us. And if you keep in mind a 6 billion market, 250 million in sales, I think it's fair to say that we believe that we still have a bit of untapped potential there and room for growth. This brings me to my third and last showcase. And those of you who have been here, and I recognize some of the faces, 12 or 15 months ago, I was talking about water scarcity and the fact that deficiencies in utility system actually result in a loss of 126 trillion liters of water every year, enough to fill Lake Zurich over 32 times completely a year. Shocking figures. And I mean, but let me also put that in a different perspective. And Andreas already mentioned that earlier. These 126 trillion translate into 345 billion liters per day. Now, if you look at the Human Rights Charter of the United Nations, they basically say every human being should have the right to 50 to 100 liters of water per day. Just to be clear, 50 to 100 liters of water per day is nothing. It may be enough for your shower if you're a very efficient shower person. Yeah. But if you take this figure and say, okay, this is the human right, and multiply with that with the amount of water lost, then basically the amount of water lost over a year in the world would be enough to provide water for half of mankind. This is the dilemma that we're struggling with, and this is why water network performance, non-revenue water, however you want to call it, is such an important topic for us, and why we see that as a clear call of action for GF. And I'm very happy to see that I'm now joined also by Sebastian, because Uponor is seeing that as the same call for action. And that is where I think is one of the strong areas where we can then really join forces to combat non-revenue water. Over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian.
So, on Monday we celebrated day one. On Tuesday we continued with day one. On Wednesday morning, I woke up first time in Schaffhausen. New reality. Today, 4 days, and I'm really excited. Meeting a lot of new colleagues, fantastic business opportunities that we have, and there is more to come. I have one simple example here behind me. In southern Finland, we had a project where George Fisher offered 350 saddles and couplings and fittings. And Uponor, we offered 22 kilometers of pipe. It's a very obvious case. Much more valuable for the customer to have one supplier and much more efficient for us. So this is an obvious cross-selling opportunity. And here we have with us as well the pipes and the fittings. Now we can do the whole thing together and it's not split. Very obvious. Now the one other opportunity that we have is very exciting one, and this is this flow valve chamber. This one has been specified, designed and certified by Uponor for the Norwegian market. It's a unique position that we have created there. And as you can see inside, we have valves and we have certain other couplings. Now, obviously, together with George Fisher, we can do the whole product portfolio together with the joints. We create also the opportunities through this valve, the valve chamber, and prefabrication capabilities that we have. Now we have a unique offering that nobody else has. On top of that, we can then add some intelligence with pressure management solutions. So really exciting things we can do together, creating value for our customers. Yes, those were the two short examples.
Thank you. Please stay with me. I need you again.
Yes.
And I think I really like this example because I think it's an extremely easy showcase. Uponor has this chamber, has strong market access with that chamber. Everything in that chamber is third-party products. Now, just simply bringing GF into a product which is already sold into the market and selling that to the same distributors adds probably, I don't know exactly how it was, and I don't want to give you a figure before you write that down, but it multiplies the value that we would sell into the channel significantly. And there's nothing to do, basically. It's just, I mean, it's not true. We need to engineer it and we need to do it. Yeah, but from a market perspective, we can just push it into the market. So overall, I think it's fair to say that due to the combination of GF Uponor infrastructure and the GF piping systems utility business, we have significantly expanded our portfolio. I mean, GF always had some of the best fittings in the world. As you can see there, the famous Elge fittings. Those of you who have never heard of an Elge fitting, it's not good. I should have heard about that. Repair couplings and also top-class welding machines, which are used by hundreds, thousands of installers in the trenches around the world. Now comes in GF Uponor, bringing sewage capacity, bringing drainage, but also bringing stormwater capabilities to us, and including, fun story, I mean, I asked for a small mock-up of the Uponor valve, because I thought this is very interesting. Then this thing arrived and I said, Sebastian, I wanted a small mock-up. And I said, this is a small mock-up. Sebastian, can you tell us what that is?
Thank you, Joost. Yes, this is a small mock-up. The real one is 3.5 meters in diameter and 8 meters long. Of course, we can make them bigger, normally transportation up to 21 meters, so huge ones. But what is so beautiful about this is what we are doing here is we are taking care of the clean water in the surrounding where you all live. You want to have clean rivers, seas and lakes. So what we are doing, we are cleaning the stormwater with these solutions. And what we do is we take the runoff from a commercial site, is normally the parking lot. And for the parking lot, you have sand, you have oil, and you have plastic, and a lot of other waste. And it flows into this vault. We have a mechanical filter that takes away the leaves and the big particles. Then there's a big tank where the water flows slowly, and then you have the sedimentation, which all the sand and stuff gets collected. And then it flows into the filtration area. And here in the filtration, we have limestone that cleans the finest part that have been dissolved into the water. This construction has a double floor, so the bottom is clean, and in the end it flows out. This is a fantastic way to keep the waters that you love clean. really exciting stuff. And it is also designed so that you can open, clean this place here, open and change the filters. You need to change this normally, the filters 2-3 years in between the times, and empty the sand depending on the requirements, but normally within 1 year. Thank you.
Thanks, Sebastian. So I think, probably we'll agree, our portfolio is very different right now. I think it's well expanded, and we are in a much better position to not only benefit from that exciting market, but also to address some of the most pressing problems we actually have. And last but not least, the other thing I wanted to stick is we're on day 4, and I think we're still touching the surface of where we see synergies, but we're already in the middle, and not only the 2 of us, but also the sales teams in the market, of identifying, discussing, and evaluating new business opportunities. Thank you very much for your patience, and here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. We have a microphone. And I will always move closer to you, not to because I don't have you in my ear.
How do you make sure that salespeople actually sell both products? Do you have do you adjust your incentive systems in practice, or how shall we think about it?
Thank you very much. The question was, could you all hear it? Okay, good. I think now expecting that I take such a system and give that now to the average GF salesperson who sells in the market and sells it tomorrow is not possible. So it is obviously, it's a question over time. So we will invest a lot of, we will first identify the products that we really want to cross-leverage and cross-sell. Then we will obviously invest money in training them. What I have no doubt about it is that if people see a market potential, our salespeople, and if they feel comfortable with the product because they are properly trained, then they are salespeople again, and they love to sell it. So that's, I think we don't have to change our incentive system. If over time we come to a different conclusion, we can still do that. In the moment, we still believe that this can do, but it's nothing which happens overnight. It will take a moment. Just also be clear.
How does it work in the market with the clients? You mentioned a project before with the 200 volts from Fischer and the 20 kilometers of pipes from Uponor. Did you both send your salespeople to this developer or utility, and they give you each part of the deal, or was it a distributor who got the order and just took your products, or how does it work in the market?
It depends a bit on the segment. If you refer to the utility segments, the likelihood that there's a distributor in between is pretty high. Does not have to be, but it's pretty high, I would say. If it is an industrial client where we don't have any overlaps anyway, then it might also very well be a direct client. But how will it work in the future? I mean, once we are fully integrated and grown together, then we go there together with the full product portfolio and sell the solution to the client. And no longer that he needs to buy the fittings and the pipes or whatever it is separately.
Indeed.
But they do that. So they are willing to go just to one player, or do they always take every part anyway separately?
No,
every part a tender and
not
like
in this specific case. They sometimes do that, but they don't always do that. I mean, in the end, if you're competitive in pricing, and that's easier if you have a complete portfolio, obviously, than if you go in with individual parts, then you get it. Usually for the customer, it's easier if they have one supplier. For the installer and the installation, it's also easier because it's more peace of mind, because you can then be sure that the things connect and click well with each other. So there are a lot of advantages. And we see that in markets that this is working.
It's an obvious situation, this one, because it's a big project. When it's a big project, it's a lot of money, it's public tendering, so we quote also directly. We were both quoting directly, and In the end, there is other products coming in as well, so the distribution might be involved. But that's kind of the dynamic. Big enough projects, you are directly in contact.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Is there any reason to believe that the semiconductor business for you is less cyclical than for the Swiss semi suppliers like VAT, Comet, and Inficon? And where do you believe are you currently in the cycle with your products?
The answer is yes, there is a reason why we believe that we are different. First of all, we are exclusively focused on the fabs with small and ultra precision chips. We are not in data storage business, computer chips, which is an extremely cyclical business. So this high performance chip with a trend towards miniaturization is still a growing market. That's one thing. The second thing is, so I was trying to explain, we are with our customers really over the life cycle of the project, and we start very early. That is this stickiness of our relationship. Where do I see the market going? I mean, with 600 billion of projects out there for new fabs, I'm still extremely optimistic that at least for the next couple of years, we are looking into a growth market, which is driven again by some economic factors like digitalization, automation, and so, and also by some political factors. As we all know, chip sovereignty is definitely a topic which drives this construction activity. Will this go away now in the next 3 or 4 years? Sometimes I would wish so for private reasons, but I don't believe it. So from a business perspective, I sleep very well.
Thank you.
And maybe there's also something which we might would add, so a fab is normally constructed over a period of 2 to 4 years. And as Joost said, so our first supplies of products start very, very early. So when the first hole's being digged, the first pipes being installed, and we normally gonna deliver the last pipes the very last moment when the hookup is being done at the lithographic machines. And this makes our business a very linear allocation of our products, whereas equipment supplier, sometimes they have a very narrow window of 2 to 3 months, and then they equip this facility. So this gonna keeps our business much more constant.
Much less spikes, yes.
Thank you. I have a question on the products you have showed last time, water recycling.
Water reuse, yes.
Or water reuse for
Yeah.
recycling systems. What is your progress here over the last 12 months? And then the second question was, this product, for example, to clean stormwater, is this a new product? Or is it in the market since 10 years, for example?
It's quite interesting, yeah. Okay.
You take this first, and I come back to water reuse.
This is, this is something that has arisen recently as an important topic. So this is actually something of a growing trend that is happening. We can say so that the EU money that has gone to Poland and to the Baltic areas, they have always required then also that you have to take care of the runoff. And this is kind of driving also the EU regulation that we need to keep the waters around ourselves clean, and it is bringing these kind of solutions to the table. This is a new, we have conceptualized it and we have launched it 1 year ago in Sweden, and we are expanding it. So it's totally new, and we are leading the way here.
And just what is the thinking about where other revenues could stand here in 5 years with this kind of products? I find this quite interesting.
It is a big opportunity, but I think it is a slow-moving market.
Right.
Yeah. Because I mean, if our business in the stormwater side, it's around, if I take the Nordic area, it is 400-500 million euro that we have in the stormwater area. This is then only one part of that, but this will increase, and we estimate that there is an opportunity. We are planning for an opportunity to grow in this, more than doubling it, but we are starting very low. But it's a 100 million opportunity.
To your first part of your question, the water reuse business. I think also last year when I presented it, it's a business development opportunity which is subject also to regulations in many markets. So we still see strong growth and significant business opportunities for us in the Americas, especially in the Bay Area in San Francisco, because there is an obligation for water reuse. What we're seeing right now is that more and more pressure comes also on European legislation to have water reuse legislations or regulations in Europe. And what we're basically doing right now is we're investing on a low scale to be prepared that if that happens, that we can go all in. So it's not that, and it was also never the plan that we would expect that this is now a multi-million or multi-10 million business already this year. So this is something which we gradually grow up, where we hedge our bets and basically make sure that when this market is there, that we are there as well.
Thank you.